Hi everyone, I'm Loredana and today I will briefly walk you through how the Historic Furniture and Decorative Arts collection team responded to the emergency brought in by the pandemic into a unique heritage site, the Houses of Parliament. Just over a year ago, on the 20th of March, the Prime Minister declared the outbreak of Covid-19 to be a public health emergency of international concern. The announcement came with the absolute must stay at home, and the national lockdown was put in place with immediate effect. Alongside many other colleagues in the museum and collection care field, the entire heritage team devoted to the safekeeping of the Parliamentary Collection set up an improvised home office and started working remotely. What differs from other museums and heritage sites is that Parliament could never afford to close its door to what is the core activity that enables the efficient government of the country, the so called business of the houses. What, in fact, makes Parliament unusual and different when compared to a museum environment is that our buildings are in their original working order. Let's expand briefly on this. The iconic and listed sites of the Houses of Parliament they include Palace of Westminster are a UNESCO World Heritage Site which houses the extensive and historic collection of art, furniture, decorative arts and archives. The Historic Furniture and Decorative Arts collection contains over 10,000 objects, including chairs, tables, desks, mirrors, silver, ceramics, lighting, and other equipments like stationery. Many of these are in daily use across the parliamentary estates, in offices, meeting rooms, dining spaces, and the ceremonial areas of the palace, such as the House of Commons and House of Lords Chamber. As these historic objects are a working collection, they require care, conservation, and management to ensure they can continue to be used. Part of the significance of the collection is that it is still in use today, mainly consistent of items designed in the Gothic Revival style by Pugin for the rebuilding of the new Palace of Westminster after the fire of 1835. There is also a large collection of items designed by Gilbert Scott for the House of Commons in 1950 after the Second World War bombings. The furniture is of outstanding quality. It was designed to match the interiors and often intended for a particular room. Pugin and Lord Barry designed the palace together in a hierarchy way so that most important rooms in the palace were most ornamental in terms of the architecture, decoration, and furniture. Key furniture makers involved in furnishing the new Palace of Westminster were John Webb, Gillow of Lancaster and London, Holland and Sons, as well as a number of other craftsmen. Just to give a few examples to understand the quality of the collection, this is the object used more frequently in the House of Lords. It is the clerk's table. It's made of oak with decorated carved legs. This is where the dispatch boxes are placed and opposing parties stand to speak in debates. Pugin designed a number of octagonal tables for the palace, and this is one of the most interesting and elaborate examples. They are decorative, but of course they are practical too and still used by peers today when the House of Lords are in session. As you can appreciate, almost the entire collection is still in use and functions to serve the scope of Parliament, which, even throughout the pandemic, it demanded an always accessible, well-preserved and safe home for the famous legacy. In the time of the pandemic, this precluded temporary closure or complete quarantine. When the Prime Minister announced the lockdown and the team was asked to work remotely, we understood that leaving the building for an undefined period would have inevitably entailed reduced control over the state of the collection, which was to remain in daily use by those who needed safe access to the building. One key factor we considered leaving Parliament was to make sure we had good allies in the buildings who could assist with daily checks, especially on those areas we knew leaks or other incidents could happen, because they had in the recent past, endangering the collection. Therefore, remote monitoring for us consisted into checking in with security guards, the porterage team, and with whoever remained in the facility. Having daily security checks helped, as we were not able to do daily walks, especially at the beginning of the lockdown, have a conversation with these people about trouble spots that we knew of, places where there are known leaks that have happened in the past, areas with the most density of collection that might be higher risk and so on, was very important. This is also to reinforce the importance of building those relationships with facility and security manager and staff, using this unprecedented time to improve this relationship, have virtual meetings, set up some time to share information with them. This all proved to be very valuable. On the day when the national lockdown was put in place, the team's focus went without delay into writing a custom policy to function as a guidance to assist everyone involved with the cleaning and safety of the historic fabric and furniture during the pandemic. To enable the core activity of Parliament safely carrying on, measures were taken by other relevant parliamentary teams by putting into effect social distancing everywhere in the buildings and by providing hand sanitizers, wipes, and any source of disinfectant cleaning products. This was to ensure that those who were required to access the site were safe throughout their stay in the buildings. However, we know that historical materials can be irreversibly damaged by some cleaning products. Closing areas and allowing collection to remain untouched in quarantine is without any doubt considered the most effective method of disinfecting heritage collection materials, but we do understand that Parliament has a mission that precludes complete quarantine. On the other side, indiscriminate use of household cleaning products to sanitize historic surfaces were going to do harm to finishes and delicate materials composing the collection. Wood paneling, doors, knobs, tables, desks, chairs, cot racks, and so on. These objects are made by different materials and finishes, all having peculiar conditions that require consideration when designing bespoke cleaning treatment. Our guidelines aim to educate and inform sustainable decisions on prevention and preparedness from the risk connected with unsuitable and inherently dangerous cleaning products and disinfection practices. In order to do that, we needed to know better who we were fighting against. Coronaviruses are named for their appearances under a microscope. The viruses look like they are covered with pointed structures around them, like a corona or a crown. All viruses are bits of genetic code RNA that are surrounded and protected by proteins, and in some cases, an outside envelope of lipids. Is this fatty envelope that elects the coronavirus to be susceptible to soap and water? When we wash the surfaces with soap and water, that fatty envelope is washed away and it causes the virus to fall apart. This piece of information will come in handy very soon. COVID-19 is transmitted from person to person by contact and from coughing that produce aerosol carrying the virus in the air that can land on surfaces. And this is why it's recommended that we stand at least 2 meters apart from each other and avoid touching surfaces. I consulted all the scientific publications at the time available to find out more about COVID-19 and its behavior on heritage materials and surfaces. I discovered that COVID-19 virus can live varying lengths of time on different types of materials, although different studies have come out with discordant data. The virus was such a novelty at the time, so that experiments were still very much ongoing or not gone through a thorough review yet. The background study I just resumed assists with outlining the following guidelines and a cleaning routine strategy that could be as practical as that needed to be practical, in consideration that the in-house cleaning teams were not heritage professionals. For the cleaning and sanitizing of historic surfaces exposed to handling, touching, and use, we identified the common material types composing the collection, which is polished wood, leather, metals such as iron and brass. Based on this list, I designed cleaning solutions that were needed to prove to be effective as disinfectant against the coronavirus based on studies available, as safe as possible for our collection materials, and as practical as possible to be taken into practice by the cleaning teams. This path the path to this wasn't always easy, and especially with regards to health and safety and mixing up solution in not laboratory environments, we had to find ways around to ensure we fully comply with the regulation, which sometimes was beyond comprehension, especially for someone like me who has been a conservator into practice for many years. We have now two solutions, one for wooden and leather surfaces and one for metals such as knobs, handles and other touching points. Solution A is water-based. It has a small amount of a non-ionic surfactant that increases the surface tension of the mix so that it is less penetrating into the historic materials and also acts against the virus by virtue of that lipidic envelope surrounding the virus. The solution requires to be rinsed afterwards with deionized water to remove this subcomponent. Solution B is alcohol-based and fast evaporating. Both solutions were sent to Public Health England for approval on their effectiveness as disinfectant against this particular virus. The mix are being made and delivered upon ordering by a trusted supplier in the heritage sector, which appropriately mix up, labels, and bottle the solution. Cleaning teams have been trained, and we have periodic meetings with their managers to ensure consistency and continuity. This is how a special COVID-19 cleaning program came into be at Parliament, and we cannot wait for the day when it will no longer be needed. This is all for now, and I look forward to your question at the Q&A session.